If you've been on the hunt for a new book, well, I got 6 that changed my life and hopefully will change yours. I'm Juli Bauer Roth, the food, fitness, and lifestyle blogger behind PaleOMG. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm here to share all my wellness, food, and fitness tips to help you live your best damn life. Today, we're going to be talking about books. 6 books that completely changed my life. And let me preface, I'm not a good reader. I don't even enjoy reading that much. My husband has read like 10 books in the last 2 months. I'm just not super into it. So I like to listen to my books. And so I can listen while I'm taking a walk. I can listen while I'm putting my makeup on. I can listen while I'm cooking. I love to listen to books. And I love to listen to the author who wrote the book. I think it is just so interesting to hear their story, to hear whatever they want to share. I just love it. So I'm not a good reader, but I am a good listener sometimes. I guess I'm actually not a great listener, but you get my drift. These are 6 books that I have loved in the past year or so that completely changed my life. Let's get started. First up, the book Dying to Be Me. This book was written by Anita Moorjani. I think I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Anita shares her near-death experience. She had cancer that had taken over her body and it was ravaging her entire body, and her body was shutting down. And she went into a coma. She died by hospital and doctor standards. And she had this experience outside of her body after she had died. And so she shares the entire experience and what it taught her. And it's really just a book that shows you life outside of this one. And what I loved about it is she talks about how it taught her to not live life in fear, because she really believes she gave herself cancer based on the fear of getting it because of another friend getting cancer. And so she lived this day in and day out obsessing over not getting cancer, and that's exactly what she got. And so she lives her life without fear at this point. But she also lives her life feeling as though she's connected to everyone. And that's something I really took away from this book, was there is an afterlife where all of us are one and we're all in this together. And oftentimes in life, in our day-to-day life, we feel so separated from people. We feel like we're so different from people, and we're taught to believe we're so different from people. But this book for me really gave me the understanding that we're all the same and we really want all the same things. But in a life after this, we're pretty much all the same. And that sounds so silly, but it really made me feel more connected to the world around me, to the people around me. And I have this new sense of empathy and compassion for other people because of this book. And it truly changed my life. I can't recommend it enough. Number 2 is the book Deep Nutrition. So we're going completely different with this book. So this book was written by Luke and Catherine Shanahan. So the book really gets into what Catherine and Luke believe is the best way of eating. So that's going to be meats off the bone, organ meats, sprouted and fermented foods, and you guessed it, fresh food. Who'd have thunk that fresh food would be the best way of eating? But what I love about this book so much is it goes into epigenetics and how we can alter our DNA through how we feed our body. So not only can we affect our own DNA by how we eat, but then we can affect our children's DNA. So the belief that we are stuck with the genetics we were given is really broken down in this book, and it gives you power and belief that you can change your own genetics and change the outcome of your children's genetics as well. And something that's really cool is this book goes into how feeding your body the right foods can really alter the DNA of your children and the bone structure of your children. And so you can birth these really beautiful, strong, intelligent children. It's just a really cool way of thinking, and it really got me thinking about how I wanted to care for my body and how I wanted to care for my body before and during pregnancy to really give my child the best possible outcome in the real world once they step foot into this world outside of my womb. Since I come from a paleo background, this book wasn't anything new to me, any really new ideas, but it really did make me look at vegetable oils in a different way and PUFAs in a different way, and really make me question some of the things I was eating on a regular basis, especially those packaged foods that have sunflower oil in them or spreads that have sunflower oil in them. It just made me question my own diet in a really healthy way and get back to even more simple foods and cooking these tougher, bigger meats in a slow cooker and eating some of the fat and eating off the bone and getting back to organ meats, because organ meats, especially in the US, are not eaten on a regular basis, and they have so many vitamins and minerals that we often just try to get from our supplements, but we could be eating them. And if we learn how to eat those foods and not consider them gross, oh my God, that would be incredible for our society. So it really just got me back to basics and back to understanding that I am in control of my own life. And that's what I love about the book, is it gives you a sense of control, that your genetics are not the only player in this. It's how you live your life, how you care for your body, and what you put in your body. Number 3, we're going back to a little spirituality. This book is called Many Lives, Many Masters. It is written by Brian Weiss, who is a psychotherapist, and he shares his journey with a patient who, through hypnosis, shares her past life traumas and how they really fixed those behaviors in her now present life through understanding her past lives. And so all of these past lives in different times come forward while she's in hypnosis and share a story of why she has fear of water and why she is connected to this married man who, you know, is not a good person for her. It's a really interesting story, but what I loved about it so much is it made me look at spirituality in a different way as I was exploring my own spirituality. A person like me who hasn't come from a religious background or spiritual background, I really wanted to find spirituality that connected to me. And this past life and past life regression was really interesting to me, and it really called to me, and it made me wonder what my own past life experiences were, and it made me reach out to spiritual guides, spiritual leaders for some of that explanation. And I, reached out to someone with an Akashic Records background, and so I could dig into that and find out a little bit more about my own past lives and see what connected and why. And so it just made me explore more. And I think if you're a person dabbling in spirituality or not at all, or maybe that seems kind of a little witchy to you, I think it would be worth listening to or reading, because it just opens your eyes to what could be in past lives if we really do almost reincarnate in these new bodies and take those experiences from the past and put them into our present day experiences. I don't know, I thought it was really cool. And if you like this book, I highly recommend the book Journey of Souls, and that's written by Michael Newton. It's a super interesting book with even more stories of past lives that I just found so incredibly interesting, and I listened to the book so quickly I want to listen to it again. Number 4, How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. Michael Pollan might be a name you already know. I think he's a very popular author out there. He's a New York Times bestseller. He's sold so many different books, but I loved this book so much. He talks about psilocybin, which is magic mushrooms, and LSD, and their uses in the past to help with things like depression, anxiety, PTSD, and he really digs into the history, but then he also digs into the science of the brain and what happens when you're taking LSD or psilocybin. And then a really cool part is this middle-aged man shares his own experiences of a person himself who has never done drugs in the past. He tries all of these drugs and he shares his experiences in the book, which I think is really interesting, especially if you're a person who has never done drugs and you don't come from a background with that. Hearing someone share their experience for the first time as a middle-aged man who has never done this and is just open to it, I thought it was really insightful and really interesting and really brave of him to share that, because our society is so anti-drugs and you hear all these crazy stories and they're all negative stories oftentimes. But as a person who has done drugs, who has done LSD, who has done psilocybin, I have had almost all positive experiences with those drugs. And so when people talk so negatively about them, when they've never tried them or never experienced them themselves, I think books like this can really open people's mind to a completely different experience with LSD or with psilocybin, and how if we can have these regulated by the government, what they could do for people with depression, for people with anxiety. I have a friend whose brother was bipolar, and she really wishes he was able to do LSD and how it could have changed his mind and changed his brain. And I think the more we're able to talk about this in society, the more we'll be able to understand what a great difference it could make, the more research we're able to put into it. I just love this book because in a day and age where news is filled with so many negative stories, this book really shines a positive light on what a difference these drugs, LSD and psilocybin, could do for our communities, and I really appreciated that. So if you're a person who is really anti-drugs, or you're just a person who's curious, or you're a person like me who has tried these things, I think it is a book that's really interesting, it's really insightful, it's really digging into the science and the research and the history, and I highly recommend it. Number 5, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. So this is a really short book. It's a really quick listen. I think I listened to it in 2 hours. So I took a walk and cleaned my house, and I had already listened to the entire book, which I was kind of bummed about. I wanted to listen more. I wonder if she has more books, because I just loved her message. So this book is an incredible reminder that we are all the creators of our own destiny. And if you speak it into the universe enough, that will become your reality. This is just another one of these many books that I've already talked about that reminds me that we are in control of our own lives. No matter how out of control life feels, we get to decide how we feel every single day and how we talk to ourselves and the powerful words that we put into the universe and how that can really affect our day to day. And after I listened to this book, I found that I looked myself in the mirror and I was giving myself more compliments. I found myself telling myself that money flows easily to me instead of being afraid that I never had enough money. I started thinking about how I could sleep better at night, and then I slept better at night. It really gave me the power to believe that I'm in control of my own destiny, and I feel like everybody should hear that message and should try it themselves. And then number 6 on my list is Real Food for Pregnancy by Lily Nichols. I love this book, and if you are thinking about getting pregnant, or if you are pregnant, I honestly think it should be a prerequisite for all women who are thinking about conceiving or who are already pregnant. As a person who is newly pregnant, as I go on the internet, it is the Wild West on Google. If you search anything, you will get so many dated answers. There's so much crap out there. It's overwhelming. And what I love about this book is not only does it give you the understanding of why certain nutrition is so important while trying to conceive and while pregnant, but then it debunks some of those old myths around food, like eating soft cheeses or deli meat because of listeria. It gives you data, which is really helpful. But then it breaks down things that are really important and then you should talk to your doctor about, like vitamin D or zinc or selenium, and why these things are so incredibly important, and why dairy is important, and why eating liver is important, and why eating leafy greens is important. All these things that I think as normal human beings, we were not taught as children, we were not taught as adults unless we did that research and that really was our calling in life. But the average person does not know this and why this is so important while you are pregnant. So I really love what her message is, and how it gives you the tools to understand nutrition and taking care of yourself while you're pregnant. This is a book I refer back to over and over and over throughout the past 5 months that I've been pregnant, because it has given me so much information that has really helped me choose what foods I'm going to eat on a daily basis and why. So it's helped me include liver in my diet. It helped me search out raw dairy. She doesn't talk a ton about raw dairy, but that was a decision I made on my own based on her talking about the importance of dairy. And then I started eating things like sardines and oysters and leafy greens and really understanding why I needed to eat those things. I can't recommend this book enough. It's going to give you tools that you didn't know you even needed, and then it's going to get you away from the hell pages of Google. You don't need that. If you want to check out any of my other book recommendations, I'm going to link that post below. I have other book recommendations if those aren't really making you thrilled. But I would love to hear your favorite book right now. Leave it in the comment section below, and don't forget to like this post to help me out. And if you want to learn even more about any of these things I've talked about spirituality, I've talked about nutrition, I talk about recipes, all on PaleOMG.com, which you can find me from the past 11 years on that blog. Next, I'm going to share a few other videos that you might like. So wait for that. I'm Juli Bauer Roth of PaleOMG. Thank you so much for joining me today, and hopefully I have even more book recommendations for you in the future.